We don't have parents anymore. We are our own community. And he created a whole set of rules for how monks are supposed to take care of other monks when they're sick. And if you're a preceptor, then you take care of a student. And if you're this monk, you take care of that monk. And if there is no that monk, then all the monks are in charge. So it started getting complicated. And over his decades of teaching and guiding the Sangha, many new rules were developed. Something like 150 rules came into being in the Buddhist Sangha. And it governed everything from what not to say when someone sneezed, to a whole set of rules about how women were to be allowed into the monastic community. And there was even rules on how they were supposed to recite their rules and how often and under what circumstances. And this is what I really thought was great about this whole story of Buddhism, is right before the Buddha died, he told one of his closest advisors that the community should now feel free to get rid of any of the lesser rules if they weren't helpful. But the Buddha did not specify which rules qualified as lesser rules. And so the community, without being able to figure this out on their own, just kept all of them. So there's still, in essence, all of these rules in effect. We often had a similar conversation at my house at Regen. We would ask ourselves, do we really need all these rules and guidelines for the chores? Aren't we all just adults here? Can't we just get rid of the rules? And each of us promises to clean up after ourselves, and we promise to communicate when we have problems. We don't need all these rules. And that was really wishful thinking. Because living in community brings up all these natural human things that even with our best intentions and best principles, we need some guidance. And so I found that I learned a lot about myself living in intentional community, as much as I did about the community and community building itself. One lesson is that we all have our equivalent to the mountain of tolerance, a sink full of dirty dishes. And it really doesn't matter what the size or the scope of the community is. And it could be our homes, it could be our workplace, it could be here in our churches and our congregations. So it may not be the dirty dishes, but there's other spaces, right, that we have common, that we share in common. And without the committed diligence, these spaces succumb to entropy and disorder. So here at church or some congregations, it might be the name tag rack. Maybe it's taking out the trash, or maybe it's always sorting between the recycling and the garbage. And, oh, who threw this here? And then all these notes go up on what goes in which bin and all of that. Maybe it's the closet or the shelves where all the materials are kept for the children's program that's supposed to be in neatly labeled bins, all set up, and then someone doesn't put something back in the right one. I'll tell you our secret at the UU Congregation of Phoenix, our little space where this always comes up. There's a special spot for tablecloths for memorial services. And they're the best tablecloths we have. And so often people go in and use them for other things and they won't put them back. And oh, Lord help us UUs if those tablecloths did not get put back correctly. So when I think of building community, of course I think of all the big picture visions of our principles and our values and our vows and promises that we make. The Regen community that was built on sustainability, the Buddhist Sangha that was focused on spiritual enlightenment, and here in our UU congregations that affirm our 7 principles. Those are all important foundations for our communities. And at first glance, it seems like that would be enough to hold us together. But it's that day-to-day stuff, how we interact, that really builds up and sustains our communities. How we care for and maintain our common spaces, how we choose to communicate and handle conflict. That's what makes the community sacred and strong, in my view. A visitor or a potential new member might see our nice buildings, they might read our well-crafted covenant statements, but they'll instantly pick up on the vibe of the place. As a common phrase says, we'll be known by our fruits. So last year I was back again at the Regen Co-op, and I went into the house I used to live in. I always like to go check it out. And the mountain of tolerance was gone, nowhere to be seen. In fact, the kitchen was quite clean. and the house had a nice calmness to it. The nectarine tree was full of fruit. The whiteboard was mostly blank, nothing sarcastic or snarky on it. And I felt a good sense of relief that the community had come back into balance. So I went to the kitchen, I got a cup, filled it up with some water, and I took a drink, and I left it in the sink. And left. Sometimes we have to have fun in community. Thank you, blessed be, may it be so.
So there's always a little bit of a troublemaker in everyone. Okay. I must say, I feel like the closing hymn now should be La Cucaracha. Please rise to announce you're willing and able to join in our closing hymn, which is actually, oh, wait a minute, you may. This is the new one, a new hymn, Building a New Way. So Julie is going to play it through once. I'm going to step back from the podium, and Emrys will lead singing it after that. But please listen to it, and then the second time around we'll pick it up. Thank you. As we extinguish our chalice, please join me in reading our mission statement as a demonstration of our fellowship, our support for one another, and our commitment to the wider community. We agree to provide a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for living better lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. Thank you to our musician, Joe Cleland, to our greeters, Dorothy Ward and Elizabeth Skinner, to Mitch James for his videography today, Kimberly Escalante and Diana Parker for the social time beginning in a few minutes, to all others who have helped in our service today, and of course to Emrys Staten, who will now provide our closing benediction.
I offer a benediction that's an adapted version of kind of a closing words from Thich Nhat Hanh, who's community of Plum Village. With whatever merit we have generated today in our worship together, we dedicate and offer all of it equally to all sentient beings throughout the world. May our thoughts and our words and our actions bring benefit to our world. Go in peace and God bless.
Thank you.